Welcome back to another episode here at Go Rails. Today we'll be looking at building our first Ruby gem. Maybe you've built a Ruby gem before, so maybe this won't be your first, but if it is, I hope that you find this video really helpful and really interesting. So let's go ahead and get started. I just want to take a moment to think about what kind of gem we're going to build here. So really the idea I want to kind of focus on here today is just building the simplest Ruby gem possible. And we're going to do this process completely manual. We're not going to use the bundle gem command to scaffold out the whole structure of a gem. We are going to build this together manually, file by file, directory by directory. And this first iteration is going to be a really, really small, like the bare bones minimum of getting a Ruby gem created. So before we get on to actually creating the gem, let's take a moment and hop into IRB here and look at the code that we're going to write and package up as a gem. Okay, so let's hop into IRB here really quickly. So one of my favorite Ruby methods is the partition method. So let's say we have an array of integers. We'll do like just 1 through 6 here. Oops. If we wanted to split this array into two separate arrays, one containing the even integers and one containing the odd integers, we can do that using the partition method. So just to quickly illustrate here, if we call partition on this and we say and even, if we hit enter on this, we'll see that the return value is a single array containing two arrays nested inside of it. So the first one has all of our even integers and the second one has all of our odd integers. So if we wanted to use this, what we can do is we can use some parallel assignment here. Let me just pull this back up. I'll declare a variable named even and one named odd, and then we'll go ahead and run this code. So what's going to happen now, so we hit enter, we'll still see the return value as the single array containing the two nested arrays. But if we look at the even variable, it is just the even digits, and if we look at the odd variable, it is just the array of odd integers. So the parallel assignment here will take the nested arrays and split them out and assign each one to the appropriate variable. So this is nice. I could see this being somewhat useful to reuse all the time if you have an array of integers and you want to separate them out like this. So one thing we could do is we could open up the Ruby array class and define a method inside of the array class that will do this all the time for us. So if we look, actually, let me pop back over to internet here. So what we're going to call this method is maybe something like split by parity. And the parity, I say parity because if we look here, it'll say in mathematics, parity is the property of an integer of whether it is even or odd. So this fits exactly what we're trying to do here. So let's say split by parity. And then all we want to do inside this method is on self, we want to call partition and even. Okay, and we'll go ahead and end this off. Okay, great. So now let's make an array. We'll just say array, and then I'll kind of do something similar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now what we can do is we can say, just like we did before, even. Let's do new even, new odd, just so we know we have new variable assignment going on here. So we'll say array dot split by parity. Okay, so we can see that our return value is much like it was up here in the beginning, but now if we look at new even, all right, and new odd. Okay, great. So our new method that we just added to the built-in Ruby array class is now working properly. So this little bit of code here is what today we're going to package up into our first Ruby gem. All right, so I'm going to now exit out of IRB now that we know that what we want to build. I'll clear this out, and let's pop over to the Ruby Gems page and look at an example of kind of the basic structure, file structure for building a Ruby gem. So back over here on the Ruby Gems page, we can see here that there's a standard structure of code organization diagram that they have right here. And this is typical of most gems and is pretty much similar to the structure you get when you run something like bundle gem, blah, whatever gem name you want to create. You'll get scaffolded out this structure. But we can actually get away by writing a lot less and still being able to create our gem. So that's what we're going to do today. So the first step, we want to make just a root directory for our gem code to live in. So let's pop back over to our terminal and create this now. So I'm going to make a new directory here, and let's call this, let's see, what are we going to name our gem? I'm going to call it parity prop, again, because the parity property is the property of an integer that determines whether it's even or odd. So let's say make dir parity prop, and then let's go ahead and cd into that directory. Okay, so now that we're here, if I ls to list out the files and direct, there's nothing in there, right? Because all we've done is create an empty directory. So the first thing we want to do is think about the two files or folders that we want to create. So the two things that we absolutely are going to need is we're going to need a gemspec file, and we're going to need a lib directory. And inside the lib directory, we want to make a Ruby file that is named the same as our gem name is. So those are the two things that we're going to create now, or three things rather. So first, let's create our lib directory. So we'll just say make dir lib. Okay, so we ls. Now we see we have a lib directory. And then let's go ahead and make our gemspec file. So we'll do touch parity prop dot gemspec. Okay, now we have that. Cool. Let's go ahead and let's make another. Let's go ahead and make our Ruby file in our lib directory. So we'll say touch lib and then parity prop dot rb. Okay, so now these are all the files that we need to get started creating our gem. So let's get building. So let's go ahead and open up Vim here and have a look at things. So let's go ahead and write the code for our gem first. So we want to do that inside of our lib directory. And then this parity prop.rb file here, this is a convention for Ruby gems here. So the convention is to have a Ruby file in the root of your lib directory named after your gem. And this is the file that is going to get loaded when you do like a require parity prop in whatever application you pull this gem into. This is the file that gets required. So this is the one that's responsible for setting up all of the other code that you write in your gem and setting up the API for your gem. So oftentimes, in addition to this file that you see here at the root, you'll typically see a folder named after the gem, and then inside that folder there will be several other files that are also responsible for setting up other code for your gem, and then all of those files will be required inside of this file here that lives at the root, in our case the parity prop.rb file. For now, we're not going to create another folder structure inside of this lib directory. We're just going to write our code straight inside of this file here. So let's go ahead and open that up. And you can see here we have a blank slate. So all we're going to do in here is just like we did in IRB, we're going to first open up the built-in Ruby array class. And then inside of there, we're going to define an instance method called split by parity. And then that is just going to call partition on the implicit self, so an array instance in this case when we go to use it. So we'll say partition, and then we want to say the ones that are even, let's go ahead and put all of those into an array, and then anything else that doesn't match this condition will be put into a separate array. So we'll go ahead and end all of this off just like that. And as far as our gem code for our the code that will be used by others, we are done here. So the next thing that we want to move on to do is set up our gem spec file for Ruby gems. All right, so over on the Ruby Gems site in the guides section, there is a section in here for specification reference. So we're going to go ahead and go there. But quickly, just to point out something they state right here. So since Ruby 1.9 and later versions of Ruby, Ruby Gems is built in to your Ruby version. So, for example, if we go open up a new, if we go open up a new IRB session here, we can actually see gem is defined. This is the Ruby gem code. So there's also what we're about to get into now is the gem specification class here. So you can see the specification class contains the information for a gem. It's typically defined in a .gemspec file or in a rake file, and it gives you an example of what it looks like. So this is what we're about to use now. I'm going to go ahead and get out of IRB here and close this tab, and then let's pop back over to Ruby Gems and take a look at this specification reference over here. So down in this section, you see there's a required GemSpec attributes section. There's a recommended one, and then there's some optional ones. So again, sticking with our theme of the bare minimum, let's go ahead and write out our specification for our gem using just these required GemSpec attributes. So to do that, we will just go back over to our code here, and let me first save that. Or make sure I save that rather. Let's get back up and let's go into our GemSpec file here. And so in here, we will just say gem specification.new do, and then we'll yield that new instance to our block here. And then we can start writing to the attributes that we need to set on our specification object here. So we'll say S. I think the first one is authors. Now this can be an array of multiple authors or just a string of one author. I will do it just as an array for right now and just put myself in there. So we can see right here, if you click on each of the attributes, you can get a little bit more information about each attribute, and then it shows you like some usage examples here. So let's go ahead and do that now. So s.authors, and we'll make that an array, and I'll just put my name on there for now. Close that off. Okay, and let's go back to the top here, and what the next one is files. So this one, files included in this gem. You cannot append to this access. You must assign to it. Okay, so only add files you can require to this list, not directories. Directories are automatically stripped from this list when building a gem. Other non-files cause an error. Okay, so let's look at our usage example here. We're not going to require rake. We're just going to use some just regular Ruby to do this. So really we want to do this right here. We don't have a bin directory, so we're going to use just this first part right here. So, and if you're not familiar with this dir class here, and then this method of array on dir right here, what this is doing is it will take a string to match a pattern against. So this will look inside of our lib directory, and it will look for any other directories inside of there, and then within them, any files that end in .rb. And also, this will also catch our parity_prop.rb file that lives in the root of our lib directory. So it's going to kind of recursively loop through our lib directory and add in all of the .rb files that we have in there. So let's go ahead and add this line now. So we'll say s.files equals dir, and then we'll open up this, and I'm just going to end all that off before I forget. So we'll say lib *****.rb. Okay, so there's that. Let's go and look and see what the next option is. All right, so the next attribute is name. So let's go ahead and look at that. Spec.name. Okay, this gem's name. So let's go ahead and add that. So we'll say s.name and this is going to be parity. Oops. Parity prop. Okay. And then let's go back up, look at our next required attribute, summary. Okay. So this just wants a short summary of the gem's description. So we'll say s.summary, and then let's see, let's look at the example real quick there. A gem to, let's see, partition an array of integers based on parity. Sure, sounds good. Okay, and then let's go and look at the next thing. So version. So this will be just a s.version. We're just going to do a 0.0.1 version right here. And that is it. That is our bare minimum required attributes for our gem specification here. So now let's look at what to do next. All right, so the last thing that we need to do here is we need to build our gem, and then we want to go ahead and publish it on Ruby Gems. So first thing, before we go to building and publishing, you want to go to Ruby Gems, make sure you have an account, log into it, sign up if you don't have one, all that stuff. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to just close out of Vim, and then in the terminal here, I'm going to run the command to build our gem. So what we do is we'll type gem build, and then we want to pass it the file for our gem spec file. So we'll say gem build parity prop dot gem spec. So we'll hit enter here, and then we will see we get a couple warnings because we didn't fill out some attributes in here. Again, we went with just the bare minimum required attributes here, but we can see that it successfully built our gem. Name is parity prop. We're at version 0.0.1, and then it created this parity prop dash 0.0.1.gem file. So this is the file that we're going to use to now publish this gem to Ruby Gems. All right, so now what we're going to say is we're going to say gem push, and then we're going to give it the file here that was created when we built the gem. So we'll say parity prop dash 0.0.1.gem. We'll go ahead and hit enter here, and then we can see here that it's pushing our gem to Ruby Gems, and then it successfully registered our gem with Ruby Gems. Now, you may have to enter your credentials the first time you go to do this, but after you do that, it should save those credentials to a folder or to a file inside on your computer. I believe it's in your home directory. I believe it's the .gem directory, and then there's a file in there called credentials. I believe that's where it saves your credentials to. So in the future, you shouldn't need to enter them in to log in and push your gems to Ruby Gems. So now let's pop over to Ruby Gems, and let's go see if our gem has showed up here. So let's see, there it is. So we can see right there, there's our gem. It is live on Ruby Gems. So now we should be able to install and use this gem. So right now, if we do a gem list to list out all of our local gems, again, we can see if I scroll up here, local gems. Let's look for our parity prop one, and I believe we could have just searched for this too, but let's go ahead and look in here. So we can see here's our P's. We don't have a gem called parity prop, and just to double check, I think we can do this here and see. Yeah, okay, so we don't have anything. So let's install it. So let's say gem install parity prop. Okay, now if we rerun this command here, we can see now that we have parity prop installed. So we've just installed our gem that we built. Let's open up IRB here. And actually, real quick, let me show you a nifty little trick here. If you do IRB, because what I want to do when we get an IRB is require our parity prop gem code here, you can actually pass this -R option to IRB and type in parity prop here, and that will go ahead and require it for us. So now what we should be able to do is we should be able to, just like we did at the start of this, say even odd, and then let's make an array of a couple integers here. Let's just do 4, and then split by parity. We can see our method shows up. Some documentation kind of shows up for it too, which is nice, which we didn't create anything there, so it's just empty. This is kind of just the default little skeleton you get here for this. But if we hit enter here, now we can see we have even and odd, and our code is now built. It's out there for the world to use, and you've just built your first, hopefully, bare bones Ruby gem, and now you can continue evolving your gem and growing it and learning more about how to build out more of the structure of your gems and how to test it and so forth, which I think will be the topic of a future episode. I'm thinking next we'll set up Git for our gem here, and then set up some testing testing framework so that we can test our code and make sure it's working, and then see how to integrate all of that. So with this, congratulations on making your first gem, and I hope you learned a lot, and I will see you next time. Take care.